Finding someone that understands you is hard because you're human, and there's a lot of different humans out there. eHarmony helps you find someone you can be yourself with. You think no one would understand mourning a plant like it's a loved one, or singing made-up songs to your dog, but that's the type of person eHarmony helps you find. Someone who makes you feel seen, heard, and understood. Get started today on eHarmony. Get who gets you.
So that guy I met on eHarmony, yeah, we're out together last night and I stepped off a curb and snap, heel breaks right off my shoe.
Oh no.
So I say, hell with it, take them off so I'm barefoot, and you'll never guess.
What?
He leans over, takes off his shoes and socks, and now we're both...
You're joking.
Amazing, right?
At eHarmony, you'll find someone you can be yourself with. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up for eHarmony today.
You're listening to the Health Courage Collective podcast, episode 107, Use Other People's Judgments to Your Advantage. Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hello, my friend, and welcome to another episode. I am so happy to have a few minutes with you today. How are your phytonutrients coming along? Do you feel like the smartest person in the conversation when people bring up terms like polyphenols, lignins, isoflavones, and phytochemicals? You should. Today, we're going to talk about using other people's judgments of you to your advantage. Are you an obliger? Do you care what people think about you? I know there's a lot of self-help type info out there trying to convince you not to care what anyone thinks about you and teach you how to stop being a people pleaser. That's awesome, but I think some of that innate desire to please others will usually hang around, and we can use it to make our lives better. People pleasing to me is doing something that you really don't want to do just to mollify someone else. There's an important distinction in there and how we're going to talk about it today. People pleasing is a form of lying. It's lying about yourself or what you want to do or how you feel about doing it. People pleasing often leads to resentment. It can feel good in the moment because you tell people what they want to hear and you get the response from them that you want, but it can drain us of our own self-respect and truth. So we're not going to do that. Caring what other people think of us can be toxic too. Well, over-caring, maybe. It can cripple us and prevent us from doing what we feel called to do. It can be really hard to make a decision if we play out what every person in the world might think of us. Cancel culture is a real thing. At least, I think it is. People talk about it a lot. You can get, quote, canceled if other people don't approve of you. There's plenty of advice out there about how to not care what people think of you. If you Google it, like I just did, you will get 4,550,000,000 results with titles like How to Not Care What People Think, 15 Expert Tips, and 6 Ways to Care Less About What Other People Think. There are 13 ways to not care what people think, and 3 ways to not care what people think, and top tips to soothe your worries of what others think of you. If you can't unapologetically live your best life, some of these 4.5 billion ideas could probably help you, like identifying and living out your personal values, cleaning up your news feed, and distancing yourself from social media. All good stuff. Doing the work to care more about what you think of yourself and what God thinks of you, if that's part of who you are, and less about what other people think is super powerful. I do think you'll connect more with other people if you care less about whether or not they approve of you. But we are tribal animals who are wired to only thrive if we feel like we belong. And if you really think about it, do you really want to not care what anyone thinks of you? There are for sure people who I admire or deeply care about, and not only do I care what they think about me, but I want to still care what they think about me. It's a balance, and only you can find what's right for you. Since it takes strategic work and consistent effort to be able to sort of stop caring what some people think of you, maybe you can use that natural inborn tendency to care what others think of you to your advantage. Have you ever heard of the audience effect? Matt Fitzgerald says, the Online Psychology Dictionary defines the audience effect as the influence of the presence of other people on an individual's behavior. Psychologists believe that the audience effect is mediated by a so-called sociometer, a mechanism involving multiple regions of the brain, including the anterior insula and the inferior gyrus. Through this mechanism, people notice and interpret the attention of those around them and use this input to adjust their behavior in ways that are likely to earn them more positive attention. End quote. Isn't that so weird? We have these specific brain regions that cause us to unconsciously adjust our behavior in ways that are likely to earn us positive attention. It seems weird that we would do that without even knowing it, but there are studies that show that people can suddenly lift way more weight on a stage in front of an audience, and that makes total sense to me. You know that audience effect feeling too, right? Like suddenly you have more in you than you realized. There was even one study that showed that putting pictures of human eyeballs on the walls of a cafeteria made students keep it cleaner. Maybe I'm going to start doing that at my house. It could be creepy if you get up in the middle of the night for a glass of water and there are eyeballs there. I know you know this already, but maybe it's time to really put it into practice in your life. Whose eyeballs can you hack? Ooh, that sounds really gruesome. Let's start over. How can you hack the audience effect to more push yourself to becoming who you truly want to become? Knowing you can use the audience effect to your advantage is very different than actually doing something about it. What can you actually do about it? An accountability partner is a huge asset. I've had 3 different accountability partners for 3 different groups I've been a part of for the past 3 or 4 years or so, and it's been so helpful. At first, it seems kind of nice, not really a big deal, but just checking in with someone regularly is so motivating. I went a lot of years setting goals and making plans and establishing deadlines and tiptoeing out the back door for what seemed to me to be extremely legitimate reasons. I thought I cared more about what I thought about myself than what a somewhat random, somewhat stranger thought of me, but it turns out that I was wrong. When I spent some time discussing my goals with my accountability partner, it helped me get clear about what the most important thing I needed to focus on was. And once I declared to my partner what I was committed to completing within the 7 days until I talked to her again I cared way more about getting it done when I knew there was an exact time limit to that and that I had to admit to her whether I wussed out or not. Hey, I just wanted to quickly interrupt and say good for you for being here listening to a podcast about improving your biological age relative to your chronological age. Have you ever thought about slowing the biological aging of your skin? If you heard my episode 55 about senescent cells, then you know that the accumulation of these undead cells accelerates all of the problems of aging. Well, now there's a topical supplement you can put on your skin that reduces the accumulation of senescent cells in your skin. This reduces wrinkles, but also all other skin conditions caused by thinner, weaker, drier skin. It also reduces the formation of age spots and increases collagen and hyaluronic acid production within your skin. It's a peptide called OS01, and it's in a product called OneSkin. I use it every day on my face and neck, and I've noticed a big difference. I would say my skin is more moisturized, but that's not a good enough description because it's not like when you put moisturizer on, but your skin is still dry underneath. It's the exact opposite. The topical supplement isn't greasy at all, but my skin is plumper and healthier from the inside out. I'm a big fan. If OneSkin sounds like something you'd like to try, there's a link in the show notes to get you $20 off. All right, back to the episode. I recently had something that I knew I needed to get done, kind of cold contacting several dozen people, which sounds terrible to me. I had it on my to-do list for a dozen weeks or maybe more, and I just didn't do it. Every day, I magically discovered that there were other things I really needed to do, like rewrite a bunch of lists. And then poof, contacting people never got done, even though my logical brain knew it was my number one task. I'm an expert at providing a rational and convincing argument for why I can't do stuff that deep down I do want to do, but it doesn't sound enjoyable in the moment. I'm going to add it to my resume. But once I told my accountability partner that was the thing I wanted to be held accountable for, I finally got it done. We talked every Monday at 11 o'clock, and I didn't do it until Sunday night and early Monday morning, but I did do it. Finally. I think mostly because I didn't want to live with the shame of admitting to her that I didn't do something so easy. I mean, I think it took me about 2 hours total to send out those messages. 2 hours out of 168 hours in the week. There's really no legitimate excuse that I could feel good about trying to sell her on for that. So not wanting to look stupid or lazy was working to my advantage in this situation. But I think there was also a little bit of motivation to do it just because I liked her. Like I was doing it for her. Not that it makes her life any better, but it kind of feels like her life would be worse in some way if she's paired with a partner who can't follow through on simple tasks. And there's power in that too. The why to do it now included someone else. Accountability partners help so much with follow through and actually meeting deadlines because you have to admit things out loud. But I think it's easy to underestimate how valuable they can be just as a sounding board. Just having to explain why you've chosen to work on your highest leverage or most important or urgent task can help you see more clearly. Falling short and having to admit it to your partner can be an opportunity to learn some helpful tips and tricks that have worked for them in the past that you never would have come up with on your own. They can give you ideas for resources that you've never heard of before. They can help you see things from a totally different perspective, which can be invaluable. Another way an accountability partner helps you is by who you become by being someone that they can rely on. Giving them support makes you a better person. Consistently being there for them is a gift to you. It's good to have compassion for everyone, including your accountability partner. Suffering with someone is one facet of love, but we know that when we give love, we are the ones who benefit. A huge way to give love, maybe even more important than suffering with someone, depending on the situation, is to give someone a path to hope, courage, and confidence. To encourage someone means to give them hope, courage, and confidence. What could be better than that? To believe in them when they can't quite believe in themselves. To celebrate their awesomeness when they're prone to breeze past their accomplishments as they compare themselves to others and feel like they can never quite measure up. I've had an accountability partner who was so stuck in her own head planning a destination event that she felt like such a loser, is how she described herself. She was super defeated by problems like people who hadn't paid for their hotel room even though the deadline had passed. She said she felt like a fraud. Having our weekly accountability talk helped her to see it from my perspective, which is that she's astonishingly amazing. The fact that she's even a player in that type of arena is amazing. Doing big things isn't supposed to be easy. She's going to come out of this stronger and more prepared for even bigger success than she was before. I think being the encourager can be more beneficial to your own progress than being the encouragee sometimes. And encouraging others makes you better at being able to encourage yourself. And it gets you out of your bubble of worry or comparison or disappointment or confusion or whatever else to see a bigger picture and more possibilities. I've told this story before, but when I ran a Spartan race in December with my team of heroic coaches, the best part of the race by far were not what I thought they would be. I thought it would be completing the obstacles I had been training for, rope climb, monkey bars, burpees, but nope. First of all, I fell off the monkey bars, hence the payoff for training burpees. And the best part about training burpees was that I felt good enough doing them, likely due to the audience effect, that I could, quote, donate burpees to my team members who were having a hard time knocking out 30 in a row. It was super fun, and adding an extra 10 burpees to my set of 30 didn't feel exhausting at all when I was giving 5 burpees to one cute lady and 5 burpees to another who were strangers to me other than that we had the same t-shirts on. I loved helping some women with the Hercules hoist and the bucket carry, which were easier obstacles for me. I also loved the men who held their hands together to give me a boost over the vertical wall that I couldn't have gotten over on my own, and all the people in heroic t-shirts who shouted encouragement and gave me high fives along the way. There was a group of 6 guys who stayed with one woman the whole way and made sure she got over every obstacle. She was the very last finisher of the entire race, and she for sure would not have made it to the finish line without those 6 guys. I think she was happy about being able to finish, but the 6 guys who stayed with her, finishing hours after what would have been their normal finish time in freezing cold December rain, said it was a transformative experience for them. It was a privilege that they are incredibly grateful for. It helped them way more than it helped her. So, if you're feeling sort of stuck or stalled or like you're not making the progress with your health or longevity that you'd like to, even though you intellectually know what you need to know, maybe what you need is a little judgment from someone or someone to bounce ideas off, an accountability partner, even if it's someone you've never met before. If you're both trying to reach a similar goal of living more as you get older, rather than less, by closing the gap between who you're capable of being and who you're actually being, you'll have more power together than by yourself. Dave Ramsey says one of the largest, strongest horses in the world is the Belgian draft horse. Competitions are held to see which horse can pull the most, and one Belgian can pull 8,000 pounds. The weird thing is that if you put 2 Belgian horses in the same harness, who are strangers to each other, together, they can pull 20,000 to 24,000 pounds. 2 can pull not twice as much as 1, but 3 times as much as 1, end quote. He goes on to say that when they're familiar with one another and have been trained together, they can pull up to 32,000 pounds. Whether you're an introvert who loves solitude, like me, or not, it's undeniable that there is more power to be had in working together. It's important for your accountability partner to be someone who understands your goal, what task you're working on, and who will call you out if you don't do what you said you were going to do. I think it's tempting to think your spouse or sibling or workmate can be your accountability partner. They can, but only if there is a clear, specific establishment up front of what you're working on, when you'll meet to discuss it, and what they are holding you accountable for doing and how. If you don't have a scheduled meeting once a week or once a month or whatever to specifically discuss what you're working on, you are missing out on that extra power. If you struggle with staying on task while you're doing something that you know you need to do, it could be meal prepping or meal planning or finishing your entire workout or meditating or scheduling your lab draw or any other longevity promoting behavior. You can try FocusMate. Have you heard of them? Of course, you can use them for work-related tasks. That's what most people do. I think it's awesome. You sign up on focusmate.com and choose a day and time you're going to accomplish something, and they pair you with a FocusMate stranger for that work session. I've done it like 6 or 7 times maybe, and it was surprisingly helpful. I thought I would try it just to see, but it really did help me concentrate on producing a result in a particular block of time. And it helped me not get distracted even just by looking around the room or daydreaming. It makes it so you have to sit down and do the thing you said you were going to do at the time you said you were going to do it because your focus mate is there waiting for you to show up. It's a really good option for staying on task if that helps you. A little bit of audience effect goes a long way. FocusMate says that they did an internal study of users, and FocusMate users report an average productivity increase of 161%. That's a 3-fold increase, same as the Belgian draft horses working together. FocusMate is great for keeping you on task for 45 to 75 minutes, which has its place. You can use it to time block and maximize your results. I do think it's important to also have someone who you regularly follow up with consistently over the long term. Someone who shares your vision for what success means to you and knows what to ask you about and when. Someone who can also share what has worked for them, what they find interesting, and can ask you good questions. Also someone who needs support from you. Being a supporter is an opportunity for you. In her book, Grit, Angela Duckworth says, "The bottom line on culture and grit is, if you want to be grittier, find a gritty culture and join it." We talked about this just 2 weeks ago in Science Says This is the Fastest Way to Change, but joining a community where your ideal behaviors are the normal behaviors goes such a long way to elevating your standards and making your aspirational identity your actual identity. Being a part of a group or partnership with high standards changes who you are and what you do. I love being a part of groups who are reaching for the same goals that I am, whether that's a business group or a coaching group or an orchestra or my jiu-jitsu class, knowing that they're also practicing measures 53 through 71 at home, or they're also practicing perfecting their guillotine chokes between classes, or they're also scared of paying for a Facebook ad, but they're running one anyway, is super helpful. And having one person to talk more regularly and more in depth with makes such a difference. I was just talking to one of my accountability partners 2 nights ago, and he's funny and just has a different perspective on how to complete tasks without them feeling like a chore or a burden. That's super refreshing. He remembers what I told him are my VIA character strengths and frames things through that lens in a way that I don't think to do for myself. I sometimes hear something that reminds me of something we've talked about in the past, so I send it to him, and I think that that's super helpful too, to have a place for my thoughts and insights to go, and to hear ideas that have been worked on by a very different brain than mine. So, what are you working on? What's hard for you to stay consistent about? How can you use other people's judgments to your advantage? The audience effect is great if what you want to do is somehow public, like a performance or a competition, giving a talk, competing in a race, submitting a piece of art to a show. Joining a group with high standards is the fastest way to change yourself and normalize your ideal behaviors. Being a part of a group of women who use bioidentical hormones, a local organic food co-op, or a group of women passionate about weightlifting. And working hard with an accountability partner is a wonderful way to triple the workload you are able to handle. Remember the draft horses? To more deeply connect with someone, hear different perspectives, get ideas, and have a place for your ideas and support to go. Not to mention to call you out when you let yourself down and give you deadlines that help you progress in a way that nothing else can. Dr. Linda Wagner, a leadership expert, says, "If I can only give one piece of advice about how to make a change, I'd recommend that they surround themselves with people who embody that change. There are a number of specific reasons why being part of a community that supports change is helpful. First, it provides a mirror to us so we see ourselves more truly without underestimating or overestimating our strengths and weaknesses. We can use that information to make our actions more effective. Working with others also gives us encouragement to go beyond what we think we can do. This is important when we're nervous about trying something new. Community also provides accountability to follow through on what we promise. We're more likely to visit the gym every day or take that brisk walk if we have a friend who is waiting there for us to show up. Furthermore, a health-conscious tribe gives us the support we need when we get discouraged and want to quit." End quote. If you're serious about actually accomplishing your goals and not just collecting nice ideas, I would highly suggest using other people's judgments to your advantage. If you're wanting to be more alive and do more as you get older rather than less, you know that you're going to need to do things differently than most people. A community that normalizes the behaviors that will maximize the years in your life and the life in your years will help you live the life you want to live on a daily basis. And an accountability partner to keep your personal changes on track and on time could be the difference between planning to be different and actually seeing change as you become a force for good. My intention and deepest desire is to create a community for like-minded women to age like professionals together and live bigger and give more as they get older rather than fade into the background. If that feels like something that would help you reach your goals, please go to https://healthcourage.ck.page/interest or send me a message at healthcourage@gmail.com, or just go to my website, www.healthcouragecollective.com, or look in the show notes for any of those links and get on the interest list. At the time of this recording, I'm just starting to get that going from the ground up, and you could help me shape it to be whatever's most helpful for you. I could pair accountability partners up from those right away in the meantime and give you other accountability options. Whatever you choose, don't miss the opportunity to become more of who you want to be by buddying up with other amazing people who want the best for you. Next week, we're going to talk about progesterone. Until then, hack other people's eyeballs and don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.